If someone you love just passed away here in Texas and left behind a house with a reverse mortgage, you're probably trying to deal with 10 things at once. You're handling the funeral, the family calls, changing the locks, and checking the mail, all while that loan sits in the background until a notice shows up and you realize the clock has already been running. The mistake a lot of families make is actually very simple. It is that they do not tell the reverse mortgage company what happened fast enough. That delay can cost you real options because most of these loans require notice within 30 days of the death, which is one of the most missed parts of the whole process. If nobody calls the lender or opens the mail to get the file updated, you can lose time, miss deadlines, and stack up costs while sliding much closer to foreclosure than you ever intended. Over the next few minutes, we are going to look at what this rule means for you, what you should do in that first week, and why starting probate here in Texas does not actually stop the lender's clock. If you're looking for a Texas probate attorney to guide you through this whole process, you can use the link down below to get started. The simple version is that while the borrower was alive and living in the home as their main residence, the reverse mortgage did not need to be paid back every month like a normal loan. But when that borrower passes away, the entire loan balance can become due and payable immediately, which means the lender can demand the money through a sale or a refinance. Now, this does not mean you as an heir have to start making personal loan payments out of your own pocket, but it does mean the debt has to be settled, right? Here is a key distinction that a lot of people miss. If you inherit the house, you cannot just ignore the reverse mortgage and deal with it later. But that also does not mean the lender owns the house the very next day. There is still a legal process to follow, and you usually still have time and choices, but those choices shrink fast when the servicer does not know who died or what the family plans to do. A lot of families wait because they think they need court papers or a finished probate before they can even pick up the phone, but that is usually the wrong move. Basic notice to the loan servicer should happen early. Even if you do not have the full legal authority to sell the house yet, in most cases, the servicer is just going to ask for the borrower's name, the property address, and a death certificate once you have it, which gets the death noted and starts a real line of communication. Let's say there are 3 kids, where one lives here in Texas and is still in shock, while another lives out of state and assumes the lawyer already handled the lender. The third sibling might assume the funeral home sent notice everywhere it needed to go, so nobody calls, weeks pass, and the mail just stacks up on the porch. Then the family finally checks the mail and learns the loan servicer has been sending formal notices the whole time, and now they are behind. That trap hits hard here in Texas because your attention is already split between securing the house, checking property taxes, and dealing with insurance. You might be trying to stop utilities or start the probate process, and all of that feels more urgent in the moment, but the reverse mortgage file does not pause just because your family is grieving. Once you understand that the clock is ticking, the next steps get very clear because the biggest damage usually comes from the delays that families think are harmless. The mistake that puts so many Texas families in a bad spot is actually pretty simple. They wait until probate is completely finished before they ever pick up the phone to call the reverse mortgage company. That sounds like a reasonable plan when you're new to this, right? You're probably thinking that you don't have your letters of testamentary yet, the will hasn't been filed, and you don't even know who has the legal power to sign anything. But here is the thing you have to understand. The mortgage servicer is not going to sit around and wait for the probate court to catch up with your schedule. Their internal clocks are ticking, their legal notices are moving forward, and the window you have to fix the problem gets smaller every single day while your family is still trying to get organized. This is exactly where the Texas timing gap starts to cause real damage to an estate. Whether you need an heirship case, an independent administration, or maybe a muniment of title, which is a great court shortcut if there's a valid will and no unpaid debt, all of those legal paths take time to walk through. Even the fast routes in our court system aren't going to happen overnight because court dates aren't same day, paperwork isn't same day, and getting those official letters from the judge definitely isn't same day. If your entire strategy is to wait and deal with the lender only after the court gives you what you need, you might find yourself months behind before you even take the first step. I want to give you a very plain distinction that will help you manage this stress. Legal power to actually sell the house usually comes later in the process, but giving basic notice to the servicer needs to happen right now. Those are 2 completely different things, okay? You might not be ready to sign a listing agreement or pay off the loan today, but you can still call the servicer to tell them the borrower passed away and give them contact info for whoever is handling the estate. just asking them what their specific timeline looks like from this date forward can save you a massive headache later on. When families wait too long to make that call, a few expensive problems start to pile up. First, you're going to see more aggressive notices and a lot less flexibility from the bank. Then you run into issues with property charges, which is just a fancy way of saying the bills tied to the house like taxes and insurance. If the servicer thinks the insurance policy has lapsed, they might put force-placed insurance on the property, and that usually costs way more than a standard policy. They might order their own appraisal or move the file toward a foreclosure review, and once a file gets pushed that far down the road, asking for an extension gets much harder because the bank assumes nobody is looking out for the property. Another mistake I see all the time is simple, but it ends up being incredibly costly for the heirs. The mail keeps coming in the name of the person who passed away, and the family just stops opening it because it feels wrong or they assume someone else is taking care of it. Then the house sits empty with no one checking the mailbox or the email account tied to the loan. Weeks go by without anyone looking at the envelopes. But those deadlines don't stop just because the name on the front of the letter is no longer alive. Let's look at a common scenario where a house has 3 heirs. One person wants to keep the place and try to refinance it. The second person wants to sell it fast and split the cash. And the third person wants to wait because they think the market might go up next year. While the 3 of them are busy arguing, nobody sends over the death certificate and nobody asks for a payoff statement. Nobody thinks to ask the servicer what date they're using for the deadline or how to request more time while probate is pending, and that is exactly how a manageable situation turns into a total mess. The reality here in Texas is that the longer a mess like that drags on, the more that house is going to cost the estate. Property taxes keep running, insurance keeps running, and things like yard work, water leaks, and HOA dues keep eating away at whatever equity is left for the family. Even if a foreclosure never actually happens, a long delay can burn through thousands of dollars that you and your siblings could have kept in your pockets. That is why once you realize this mistake is happening, you need to move fast on those first week actions to protect your inheritance. First, you need to confirm that the loan is actually a reverse mortgage and find the most recent statement to see who is servicing it. The company listed on old papers from 5 years ago might not be the same one sending out the current notices. So you have to open the mail and look through desk files. Check any online statements if you have the login info, because if you don't know exactly who you're dealing with, you can't even begin to plan your next move. Second, make sure you call that servicer as fast as possible to tell them the borrower passed away and ask them exactly what documents they need from you right now. Write down every single detail from that phone call, including the names of the people you talk to and any reference numbers they give you. You'll want to ask what timeline is already running and where you need to send the death certificate. Keep all these notes in one dedicated folder or notebook, not on random scraps of paper that are going to get lost under a pile of mail. Third, you really should talk with a Texas probate lawyer if you aren't 100% sure who has the authority to sign for the house. Choosing the right probate path can save you months of waiting, and if your situation fits a muniment of title, that might move much faster than a full administration. If you do need an independent administration, you want to get that started immediately, and if there wasn't a will, an heirship proceeding is likely going to be part of your path. You don't have to guess your way through this, and having a professional guide will keep you from making a wrong turn. Fourth, you need to get the family to sit down and choose a direction for the property as early as you possibly can. You basically have 3 choices: keep it, sell it, or deed it back to the lender. If one heir wants to keep the house, you have to find out right away if they have the cash or the credit score to pay off that reverse mortgage. If the plan is to sell the home, then you want to get your probate path and your title work lined up so you're ready to hit the market. Even if nobody in the family wants the property, you still need to figure out the cleanest way to exit without hurting anyone's credit. Fifth, make sure you're protecting the physical house while the legal file stays open. You need to keep the hazard insurance active, secure all the doors and windows, and check on the home at least once a week if it's sitting vacant. Watch out for the property taxes and the utility bills, because a vacant house in Texas can go downhill very fast. One burst pipe or one missed tax deadline can turn a difficult probate file into a much worse situation for everyone involved. Whatever you do, don't assume the lender is going to wait just because your family is grieving. And don't think that starting probate automatically buys you extra time with the bank. If you need help figuring out if you should focus on probate first or sale prep first, you can use the link down below to get connected with the right help here in Texas. The most important thing you can do today is find that mortgage statement and make the call before another notice goes by without an answer. The lesson here is pretty simple, but it is one that a lot of families learn the hard way. Most heirs do not lose the house because they actually wanted to give it up, but they lose it because nobody dealt with that reverse mortgage fast enough while there was still time to pick a better path. Your job today is straightforward, and I want you to find out if the loan is a reverse mortgage, identify the servicer, and make that first phone call before you do anything else. Taking that one step keeps your options open for a sale, a payoff, or even an extension while the probate process moves forward here in Texas. As I mentioned before, if you need help with the sale or the title side of things, you can check the guide I have linked down below. Every week you wait is going to cost you money, and it might even kill the deal entirely, okay?